Well, Las Vegas Aces coach Becky Hammon is back in the news again for her latest remarks about Caitlin Clark, coming off of the remarks that she said about 2 weeks ago. Has a lot of Caitlin Clark fans in an uproar, but Becky Hammon did not hold back. She did not mince words on what she said about Caitlin Clark. But before we get off into today's podcast, tell a friend to tell a friend. Well, Becky Hammond is back in the news again for her latest controversial remarks about Caitlin Clark. Now, we all know Caitlin Clark has been the topic of discussion, and there's a lot of players and a lot of coaches around the league that have a lot of things to say about Caitlin Clark. And that's only because the media always asks these coaches in their press conference things about Caitlin Clark, so they will address it. Now, Becky Hammons about 2 weeks ago said some things about Caitlin Clark when they asked her questions about, what she brought to the table, and she didn't want to make it a black and white thing. And Asia Wilson was with her when they asked her these questions. So Asia Wilson and Becky Hammon had some things they said. And Becky Hammon said, I played in this league in 1999. We was pushing for certain things, but it's here now. She didn't care who was responsible for getting the charter flights and things like that. But it's apparently the way she said it made it look like Becky Hammon was really taking a lowball shot at Caitlin Clark. And a lot of fans of Caitlin Clark got upset with Becky Hammon. Now, Becky Hammon is a well-decorated, athlete in the sport. A well-decorated coach. She coached in the NBA with the San Antonio Spurs alongside Greg Popovich. So she's been having a luxurious career. So she is well-respected in the Basketball Association. Now, she is a great person, a great motivator, a great leader, and she's a great coach. And when they asked her questions, she just, answered it to the way she wanted to answer it, but it seemed to rub Caitlin Clark fans the wrong way. Now, we know Becky Hammon has been in the news saying things. There's other coaches. There's other WNBA veterans that have said some things about Caitlin Clark. But you guys know that, when I talk about Caitlin Clark, I give my fair assessment and things that people say. Now, I did a live show last night, and we was talking about, all the jealousy and all the hate that Caitlin Clark has been receiving. I don't really call it hate. I just call it everybody has an opinion. And I always say it's healthy conversation. But these latest remarks that Becky Hammon said about Caitlin Clark got the Caitlin Clark fans in a little uproar. Now, we're going to dial it back and we're going to take a listen to what Becky Hammon said about 2 weeks ago about Caitlin Clark. And then we're going to follow it up, what she said the other night after the Chicago Sky and the Las Vegas Aces game, which I felt was kind of weird, where they had Teresa Weatherspoon and Becky Hammon in the same post-game press conference. But they asked Becky Hammon some questions about Caitlin Clark, and let's listen to her remarks. But let's first listen to what she said 2 weeks ago, followed up by what she said the other night about Caitlin Clark. Take a listen.
We love Caitlin Clark.
Yes.
There's no. I think she's amazing. I watched every time I possibly could. And our league, this has nothing to do. We're just doing our job. We're gonna show up. Who is ever on the other team is on the other team. We don't really care. We're gonna show up and do us. And so I think this narrative of everybody
yeah.
hating on Caitlin Clark, and even the black and white thing, knock it off. It's not there. It's not there. So shut down the noise. And by the way, what is she, 22? She's a 22-year-old woman with a lot of pressure.
She's not perfect.
She's not perfect. She's a rookie in this league. Back off.
Yeah.
Back
She's learning and growing just like everyone else. I feel like that's what people don't give her a chance. This is growth. We tell our rookies every single day, this is new. You're coming into a whole nother new world and starting over. So it's the questions are only annoying because it's like, she's young, she's a rookie. Y'all keep asking us these questions as if she's a grown-ass woman that's been in this league for years. Like, no, she's doing her job, we're doing ours. And at the end of the day, that's how we grow, is when we get better and do things like that. So, yeah, I'm just exhausted over the conversation because I know she's exhausted. I can only imagine. So.
And so far as the charters and this and that, I don't care if Kermit the Frog made the change. We've been fighting for this.
Becky over here, what? But for real though.
We've been pushing. I mean, I've played in this league in '99, and we were traveling the same way. And I'm, like I said, I don't really care who's bringing this or who's bringing the crowds. What I care is that they're there and they're on the eyes and they
Totally
see
agree
how
with
great
Becky
women's
on that.
basketball is. That's what I care about, and that's a mic drop.
Period.
Angel and Caitlin, when people were tuning in for those matches.
Now
they
listen
also
to
got
these
see
comments.
My girl, Kate Martin. So, look, at the end of the day, they're really super skilled. They're fun to watch, and they jaw at each other. You know, and people be like, Angel's talking. I'm like, nobody talks more crap than Caitlin too. Caitlin be in there talking like that. That's just what they did. I saw her and Melissa get into it the other day. Like, it's just, it's a different generation because they're not. I think we talk subtly. They be talking in your face, which is fine. Like, my thing is like, let them go. They're big girls.
Now, you heard what Becky Hammond had to say in that last little segment about Caitlin Clark trash talking. And that goes back to some of the comments that I've said about people saying that the league is protecting Caitlin Clark. They need to stop babying her. Caitlin Clark is a 22-year-old woman growing up. And Caitlin Clark be on that basketball court talking trash. I mean, we see clips of her in Iowa, the way she talks trash, shrugs her opponents off, gives them the look. We just saw the other day when they played the Chicago Sky. She hit a three and gave that walk down court and gave that snarl. So, like Becky Hammond say, y'all got to cut that out, man. Y'all got to change that narrative. She squashed that narrative about the black and white thing. You know, Asia Wilson basically said it. You know, they getting, fed up at, answering all these questions about Caitlin Clark. There's other things to talk about. You don't have to, ask all these questions about Caitlin Clark. And what they're doing, they're just doing their job by answering it. And people are taking exception to some of the things that they're saying. So they're labeling it as jealousy and hate. But Becky Hammond said, Caitlin Clark is one of the biggest trash talkers in the WNBA. Not if the number one trash talker in the WNBA. Now, guys told y'all what Magic Johnson said. Magic Johnson said that Caitlin Clark got that Larry Bird type trash talk in her. So don't let Caitlin Clark fool you. Caitlin Clark is out there handling her own, and what Becky Hammond is basically saying, she's not a baby. Stop babying her. A lot of people were coming at Becky Hammond for her remarks. Becky Hammond didn't say anything wrong about, Caitlin Clark being a big trash talker. But it seems that all these Caitlin Clark fans, they get in an uproar every time somebody says something about Caitlin Clark. They want to push back and be like, they just jealous, they hating on her and things like that. And like I told you guys before, it ain't the WNBA veterans and the girls that are in the league and the coaches and some of these Hall of Fame players that are saying things about Caitlin Clark because they're giving their honest assessment. You got to worry about what's on Caitlin Clark's team. You got to worry about what's in that locker room with the Indiana Fever. But like I said, Caitlin Clark got to come up to, she got to show up. She got to show up tomorrow against DT and the Phoenix Mercury. She got to show up against DT and Copper and Brittany Griner. She got to drop 30 to shut this narrative up about Diana Taurasi, throwing shade and shots at her. But Becky Hammond just wanted to let everybody know that Caitlin Clark is the biggest trash talker in the WNBA. So stop babying her. Nobody's protecting her. Everybody's just going at her just as much as everybody else is going at everybody else. But I told you guys before, we got to cut this out, man. Let Caitlin Clark live. Let her ball. Stop asking all these players questions about Caitlin Clark. And see, that's the misconception, because when you ask these players about Caitlin Clark and anything that they say about Caitlin Clark, These Caitlin Clark fans come out of the woodworks talking about they hating on Caitlin Clark. They doing this and doing that. Let's put that to bed, man. Let's just play ball. And that's going to wrap up another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K. Sapp, and we're going to catch you on the next one. And remember, on your way out the door, do me a favor. When you put your shoes on, give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you post your comments. Make sure you tune into the live videos. We're going to start doing our giveaways like I said last night. And that's all, folks.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.